Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to rabbitzchat, a lifestyle blog and podcast hosted by me, Conrad, where we talk about anything and everything related to fitness, business, and or relationships. Alright, so on today's episode, we are going to be talking about failure with none other than myself, your host. So before we get into things, I gotta say something. I am sorry. So rabbitzchat has gone into a bit of a hibernation from the last episode, I guess, that I dropped basically a year ago now. A lot's happened since then. So I got into a relationship. I got out of a relationship. I moved out of home. I'm currently down in Gold Coast, which is elite. I'm loving it. And I'm here with one of my good mates, Michael, which is so dope. I've actually had him on the podcast as well, so give that one a listen if you haven't yet. I've also continued my grind on a couple of other ventures, and that's been paying off, which is really sweet. And the fourth one is, at this point, I've called it with Native & Co. So people that were here from the start, you obviously know that I had my own marketing agency. We just didn't have the passion or the persistence to kind of see Native & Co. morph into its full potential. So I guess we just kind of called it. And then last but not least, I let my priorities veer away a little bit from what I'm really passionate about, which rabbitzchat is one of those things that I'm really passionate about, and I want to get back into that. But that brings me to this, failure. I want to talk about it because for the last little bit, I've had that little voice in the back of my head, just whispering to me repeatedly the dreaded words of like, maybe you have failed. And I know that's not true. And I know that if I've been experiencing that, then a lot of other people have as well. So I wanted to talk about failure. So what I wanted to do is kind of go into what failure actually is. So I wanted to define it and then go into basically how we can overcome failure. More specifically, how I deal with getting through failure. How I deal with getting over it, past it, through it, whatever the hell it is, just dealing with that little ugly thing right there, failure. Now, I'm no doctor, I'm not a psychologist. These are just my experiences and opinions. So give my tactics a crack and let me know if they work for you. If they don't, all sweet. We've all got our different ways. But let's dive in. So I want to start with the actual definition of failure first, and that's been provided to us by yours truly, Mr. Google. So Mr. Google told us that failure is 1, the lack of success, or 2, that's 3, 2, the neglect or omission of expected or required action. Now, with that in mind, I think we have a misconception around what failure actually is. So from the first definition, the lack of success, we've just got this big problem of what even is success nowadays? It looks different for every single person. No one's the same. And it could be anything from having $1 billion in the bank account all the way through to something as simple, which might be really tough for some people, but something as simple as getting out of bed at 7 a.m. in the morning. I personally don't struggle with that, but you might. And with, the lack of success, I guess, I want to remind people that success is a journey. It's not a destination. And anyone who's out there grinding away at their dream or building business will say the same thing. They'll be like, yeah, we're killing it this year and we want to do so much better. We want to do X, Y, Z, and that's going to get us, to that next level. So remembering that success is that journey, it's not a destination, is such a big help. And the reason why I say that is because you don't just go and have one success and you're like, I've made it, I'm successful. What? I think you go from success to an even bigger success to then like a monstrous success. Wow. I say that because the win that you had yesterday might not have the same feeling or impact on you the next time that you have it, because we get desensitized. We get used to success. We get used to achieving the same thing. So let's say, all right, your goal is getting up at 5 a.m. First day, tough as nails. You hit the snooze button. You sleep until 6 a.m. You don't even make it to 5 a.m. You don't get up at 5 a.m. You get up at 6 a.m. The day after that, you wake up, you hit the snooze button, but you get up at 5:30. Now that's a big success. If you do that again at 5:30, that's not going to feel like a success. If you do it at 5, which is your actual goal, that's going to feel like success. So what I'm trying to say here is that success is a journey, it's a cascading effect, and it's exponential. It never stays the same. We always want something that's bigger, better, faster, more efficient, that kind of thing. So it's important to remember this when you think about failure and when you're also thinking about it from success. Because if you get the same success over and over and over again, that success, because of the diminishing value that it has, it will start to slowly creep in as failure, because you'll be thinking, oh, I'm staying at the same spot. But you're not. You're just building success upon success upon success. Which brings us to the next section of the definition of failure. The second definition is the neglect or omission of expected or required action. So this is essentially just avoiding your responsibilities as an individual. In my opinion, the only responsibility that you have is to seek your passions, do it to the best of your abilities, and as often as humanly possible while sharing it with the world. Because if you don't do it, then who will? I've been there. I've neglected my responsibilities. I stopped producing content for rabbitzchat. I haven't released a podcast in a year. That's the first thing that I've neglected and failed temporarily on. I've also done a big no-no, big naughty, which is I've sacrificed my time for things that weren't going anywhere. And that, in my books, is huge. Because if you know something's not going anywhere, that's pretty dangerous. Like, especially if it's something that's not feeding into a bigger goal, right? Like, there's things that you do that you know aren't going to take you anywhere, but it has the added benefit of, let's say, you get a relationship out of it, or you make some money out of it, or you get an experience out of it, right? So those things still are beneficial. That's worth your time as well. It's not all monetary. And I feel like we all go through that at times. I feel like we go through times where we just let go of our responsibilities. We take a step back, we cool the jets, and we just relax, let the hair down, which is important. But what's important is also getting back onto the horse, right? Onto or on? Just getting back on the horse. Yeah, ride it, cowboy. Okay, so I want us to get back on the horse from the time that it feels like we failed, because when you do that, you maintain your momentum. And I said this in a previous podcast, movement is momentum, and momentum is progress, and progress consistently leads to success. So how do we get back on the horse? How do we overcome failure? Or how do we deal with failure? For me, I could break it down into 3 kind of key things. So the first one is consistency. The second one is perspective. And the third one, which I've forgotten about, which is why you should always have notes, is curiosity. I think curiosity is a really important one to have in your books and add it into life, right? So let's start off with consistency. I reckon consistency is something that will help us overcome failure just purely based off of the things that I've seen in my life. The people who make it are the ones who are in there day in, day out, grinding it. And there's one person that pops up to my mind, for you it might be Kobe Bryant, because he's someone who's up there, he's world famous, whatever. He's dope. But I like to think close. I like to think about my inner circle. My inner circle, I would say someone I look up to is Tom Balch from Prime Training. This bloke started his business 2 years ago, and he's just put in the work daily. If you are around him, Prime Training, his TikTok is on point. This guy grinds it out, and so many people have acknowledged him for it. I think he's been referred to as the Tok Tom. Maybe we can make that a thing, Tok Tom. But this guy literally has been there for the last 2 years, day in, day out, building his business in every kind of way imaginable. He's been on socials. He's been connecting with people. He's been collaborating. He's been putting out gear. He's been putting out his programs, which that's what his actual business is about. And he cares about people. So he's been feeding into relationships, and he's done that consistently. So, knowing his story and knowing, that there are setbacks, which may seem like failures, but they're not. They're just setbacks. And because he's been consistent enough over time, he's just pushed through that failure, and he's just reaching success upon success upon success. So with that being said, Bolchi, he's a legend. Tok Tom, let's get him going. If you need a lesson on showing up daily, Tom Balch, he's your man. Go hit him up. He's got a raw passion for just life. And anyone who meets him can just recognize that energy. So the next one, we've got consistency. That's the first one we do to, kind of start getting over failure or to overcome it, right? The next one is perspective. I think very often when we feel like we've failed, we've just actually lost a grip on where we're at. And we might have just lost that focus on life, And so I think me personally, I found it so easy to just get flooded by what other people are doing and achieving. Specifically, let's go even in the podcast space. There's people that have gone into the podcast space and they are killing it. But the thing is, I don't know the amount of late, lonely, sleepless nights that these guys have spent just building up the skills and putting in the work to get the podcast to where it is. And so with that, one of the things that I've actually been doing to combat that is to just literally DM people or hit them up and just ask them, hey, can we grab a coffee sometime? And you dive into that experience, that person's knowledge, and you just ask him, dude, what did it actually take for you to get to where you are? And I think that the people that have made it, they're willing to share that, because that's a question that not many people ask. So stepping into that and taking advantage of it is something that you could really learn a lot from. And I think that anyone who's made it will be happy to share that with you. Now, another trap is to drown ourselves in our own goals.
Nah, yo, hold my poodle. Hold my poodle. Hey, yo, what's up? Y'all got a problem?
Now, don't get me wrong. Having goals are important. But forgetting to stop and look at how far you've come is pretty dangerous. So it's really important to take the time and look at the progress that you've made so far. And doing that brings the progress to the front of your mind. It centers you and it grounds you, especially when you feel like you haven't been kicking your goals as hard as what you would have liked to at the start. Now, the next one that I think that's really important with overcoming failure is curiosity. It's the last one of the three. And I say this because curiosity in my books is one of the most underappreciated spices of life. Imagine if you approached life with the motto of what if. Like, what if it worked? What if it worked could empower you to try things that you normally would have avoided just because of your fear of failure? I have friends that have approached life with what if it worked, and they've turned their business into a 6-figure business in 1 year's time just because they went, what if? Now, what if isn't the only mantra you can use. There's plenty of different ones. I wrote a couple down here on the lappy, so excuse me if I'm just like panning from you guys to the laptop. But another one that I've got is, why not? As in, why can't it be done? Why not me? Why can I not be successful? Or why can it not work? And then another one is, what if no one else does this? This one, to me, is a very close one to my heart because it ties in with, what if someone needs me to do this? And what if I'm the only one that has the potential to do this? So what if you're sitting where you are right now and you have something inside of you that you haven't shared with the world and no one else has that? What if there's someone out there, like just one person, that needs you to do that thing, whatever it may be, to give them hope, to show them that it's possible? So what if is a great one. Even what if this idea, business, friendship, or conversation changes my life? And doesn't just change it, but changes it for the better? What if taking this next step can change your life for the better forever? There's plenty of stories out there of people that have had a chance encounter with someone and it's changed their life forever. Now, these are all mantras that I've kind of used in my life so far, especially at times when I felt like a failure, but that's not even the right word for it. I'd more so say These are things that I've used for times that I've lost sight. Not just of where I want to go, but why I want to go there. More importantly, why I need to go there. And I say that I need to go there, or you need to go there, or we need to go there, because that is the thing that drives us, our why. And Simon Sinek talks about it in his book, which is a good read. So I've heard. I'm yet to get through that one. I'm currently pumping through a different one. So if you're out there today, and maybe what feels like failure is on your doorstep, remember this. Greatness comes from consistency. It comes from perspective. And it also comes from curiosity. And it's made so much better when you've had a few setbacks in your life along the way, that it just gives you something to compare it against, because we are creatures of comparison. Fortunately, unfortunately, fortunately. Ladies and gentlemen, failure. Do we understand it? Do you understand it? Do you know what that means? Do you think you are a failure? Can you bring yourself out of that mindset? Do you have someone around you who you can share that with? Is there someone who believes in you? Because I can guarantee you, if you went to your parents or to your closest friend, or the person that you just confide in, the person that you can talk to about anything, if you stopped and you told them, oh, I feel like a failure, they just straight up tell you to your face that you're full of shit. Because you've come so far, you're still here, and life is a journey, just like success is a journey. So it's not over till you're in the dirt. That's all we have time for today, guys. This is rabbitzchat, a lifestyle blog and podcast hosted by me,